What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another great episode of Facts and Stats. It is now episode 78. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell a friend about everything that we got going on here. As you see on the screen, his at name is on the screen. I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started.
What's up, y'all? It's Chris Williamson. I am a sports anchor and reporter at Sportsnet New York. I've been doing it for almost 4 years there. I've been in the business since 2015. And, right now we got a lot to talk about in the NBA. Not that many great things going on basketball wise, for the Knicks. But clearly, I'm happy to be here and it's a pleasure to be with you, man.
All right, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on again. So we're gonna go ahead and jump straight into it. You said you are a sports reporter, so I just want to know like a little bit of background. How did you get into that, and then how far do you see yourself going?
I see myself, making it to a national network one day, doing what I love. The goal is to create stories and inspire people to live out their best dreams through, my passion and my work. But I got into the business because I sucked so bad at basketball that I had to give up that dream and focus on talking about sports.
Okay.
That was my next dream. So that's how I got into it because look, I did everything you could imagine, going to basketball camps, getting shot doctors,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards, practicing, in my backyard, wherever I could find a hoop or, dribbling exercises. And the Lord told me, you ain't fit. You ain't fit for playing basketball. So I got cut from JV team, my high school, or my sophomore year of high school. And when I got cut then, I was like, all right, you need to pour your resources and your energy into something else because you're not going to make it in the NBA, let alone high school or
Okay.
even college.
Right.
And
Right.
that's when I made the pivot to stay connected to the game by talking about it.
Okay. That's a well pivot. I sort of kind of had that same aspirations or dreams. I even have a basketball tattoo. I love the game so much. But then I sort of kind of made that pivot myself towards my senior year in high school. I just strictly wanted to talk about the game. I just love it so much. Me being talking about it makes me happy as well as much as playing it. Um,
Yeah.
but thank you again, Chris, for coming on. We're gonna go ahead and jump straight into it. Philly, man, I want to talk to you about the Philadelphia 76ers before we wind down around the NBA. What was your initial reaction when the trade went down about 2 weeks ago? The Harden for Ben Simmons and Seth Curry and Andre Drummond.
My initial reaction was, hey, look, both players, in Harden and Simmons got out of places, got out of teams where they didn't want to be anymore.
Right.
Right. So they're happy. And the Nets and the Sixers were happy because they both got great players. Now, I thought what was really interesting is how the Nets were able to get Seth Curry in that deal because that's something they desperately needed. Another shooter, given the fact that Joe Harris, who knows when that brother's coming back,
Right. Right.
right? And they throw in Andre Drummond as well, but I thought that was a really big key piece. And then also, I'm wondering, how Ben or how Joel and Harden are going to work. Right on paper, it looked good, but I'm just trying to figure out is there going to be enough ball to go around, between these two? And clearly, they have shown that they can share the ball and be dynamic, in the first three games that they've played together. But yeah, I was like, okay, this can work for Joel and Harden, but I wasn't entirely too sure. I didn't know what version of Harden we would get, and we
Right.
see that Hammy healed up rather quickly, and
Right.
he's balling.
Right. That's what he was using to get out of Brooklyn. That
Yeah,
hamstring thing. But now, so now, like you said, we've seen the first three games where Harden had 27, 29, 26, and B 34, 37, 27. And then Maxi, who has been he been having a good season as well, averaging 17 for the season. But in those three games with the two, he had 28, 21, and 25. Now, my question to you is before I ask you how far do you think Philly can go, is it any type of concern that Maxi is looking more so like the third perennial scorer next to them instead of Tobias?
no, it doesn't, right? Because I think as long as he's able to stay consistent, and Tobias can give you a little bit something more than he has been,
Mm-hmm.
during this season, I think the rest will take care of itself. Now, if Tobias doesn't give you anything and he's just a liability out there, that's when I worry because we're not sure if that's going to be enough firepower. The three of them, it
Right.
should be, but you just never know depending on the different teams that they play. But no, I'm not worried. The stars will rise to the crop. They'll rise to the top, and that's what Tyrese Maxey is doing right now. If Tobias ain't fit for that anymore, then so be it. Somebody has to play that third scoring role, and if it's Tyrese, I don't care. I mean, Tobias is getting paid, a lot more money than Maxey is. So if you're looking at it that way, you rather the player that you have more investment in to produce more.
Right.
But hey, if Tyrese Maxey is your third option and he's reliable, like we've seen in these three games, specifically with Harden and Embiid, you're gonna take that.
Mm-hmm. No question, no questions. I definitely understand where you're coming from. So, like, where do you see Philly going in this Eastern Conference?
I see. Yeah,
And I know
I
it's hard
think
to say right now. It's only March. Things are going to get spicy
right.
around April and whatnot. But where you at
Listen,
right now with it?
I think they have a shot to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a legitimate shot if they keep playing this way against really good teams. Because let's not forget, two of the three
Knicks,
games
yeah.
they played against were the Knicks,
Knicks, yeah.
and we know how the Knicks are this year. I forget the other team that they played. Yeah, I forget the first game that they played.
It was the
But the point
Timberwolves, I
is,
think.
the
Yeah,
Timber.
Timberwolves.
That's right. It was the Timberwolves. Yeah, you're not playing these world beaters or the perennial powers.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see them against the Bucks. Let me see them against Miami. Let me see them against a healthy Brooklyn squad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I think we'll have a better understanding of how far they could go. But here's what I think. You could have them in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you could also have them being bounced out in the second round. That's just how I think these things can go. It's so fickle and up in the air. So it wouldn't surprise me if they made it to the finals, and it wouldn't surprise me if they also get bounced out in the
It,
second round
it,
because we know Philly has had some issues closing out series as of late.
especially Doc Rivers,
Well, yeah, right.
his
Doc
whole
Rivers
career
in
pretty much,
particular.
towards the last 10 years or whatnot.
Yeah,
And that's interesting. The Eastern Conference is loaded, and I want to touch
yeah,
to you about another Eastern Conference team who's currently sitting second in the Eastern Conference as well. The 39-23. We know the run DeRozan was just on, pretty much still on. Levine is sort of kind of getting back to himself a little bit. He was hurt. They're still missing Lonzo and Caruso, but the Chicago Bulls, are they pretenders or are they more so like they're just there, they're playing good. They're not gonna be only gonna be a regular season team.
until I see it in the playoffs, I will call them they're just a regular season team, right? Because we don't know how we haven't seen this makeup of guys play in the postseason where, as you know, the game slows down. There's so many different schematic strategies or schemes that coaches pull out and players as well during the postseason that they don't do during the regular season.
Right.
I will say this though, the fact that they are second in the East, as you said,
Impressive.
with all these injuries, Lonzo, Caruso, they're missing Levine for a little bit as well. DeMar has been the main focal point. He has been the centerpiece of this team, keeping them afloat. Even in games where they would lose sometimes, they were taking teams down to the wire. Like even it was a while back or so against the Bucks. It was only DeRozan and I think they had Caruso too. Yeah, and that's when Grayson Allen hit him. But the point is, they didn't have all their star pieces, and they were hanging with one of the best teams in the East, the defending champs. So I think they're for real. I just don't know how they're going to fare in the postseason.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, only two teams make the Eastern Conference Finals, and in my eyes, it's four teams that have a legit. Well, it can be six teams that have a legit shot at it. Eastern Conference is pretty deep this season, but the four favorites that I would say around amongst of the leagues or reporters or whatnot: Miami, Milwaukee, Philly, and Brooklyn. Do you think Chicago has any chance at overcoming any of those teams in a series? If you had to pick one team you feel like Chicago can possibly beat, who would it be?
One team that I think Chicago could beat out of those three, so Miami, Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee. Um, Honestly,
If it's none, you can say none.
nah, because they've been really good. So I can't just toss them aside and be like, yeah, they can't beat any of those in the series. I would say probably the I'm gonna go with the Nets just
Ooh,
because,
ooh.
and the reason why is because I don't know what type of Ben Simmons we're getting. We still haven't seen that brother on the floor. He's got back issues that delayed his comeback, right?
Right.
Kyrie, this whole thing with the mandate being rolled back, he's still not able to play. So who knows if he'll be able to play in the off or play home games in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then KD, I worry about his health because he's not had serious injuries, the past couple of years coming off that Achilles tear, but he's missed a lot of games, or he's missed a decent amount of games, where you're thinking, is he going to be able to hold up for the rest of the way?
Mm.
So that would be the team I would say they would probably they could take on just
Okay.
because of those factors. Now, healthy, if you got everybody playing well, then I don't know. I don't think they might not be able to beat any of them, you know? But with the unknowns about the Nets, that's the team I would go with.
Okay, real quick before we switch to the Western Conference. So this team is rolling as well as of late as well. So say for example, standings shifted out to where Chicago and Boston plays in a series. How do you think that series will come about? You know Tatum and Brown, they have two Eastern Conference Finals under their belt. They're pretty much a good team. They're rolling right now. Derek White was a great addition to that team as well. How do you think that matchup will go?
I mean, they're playing a lot better defense, and
Right.
we've seen them take on, or we've seen them overcome, the brutal stretch that they were in to begin the year.
For sure.
And people were talking about, they need to break up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think they're one of those teams, or it was like I won't say the Raptors because they were usually get the one seed and then they get smacked by LeBron. But I don't see them being able to, go all the way. Definitely not going all the way. And I also think that when it comes to them matching up against the Bulls, there might be some deficiencies, in the low post. And I don't know. I don't trust the Celtics, man.
Mm.
That's what it comes down to.
Mm.
I like what they've done. I like what Ime has done, the head coach there,
Yeah.
and how he's been able to rally the troops after some really tough losses. But yeah, just something about Boston where I just not sold. So I would have to go with Chicago.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for
What
that.
about you?
We're gonna go ahead and take it to the West Side really quickly. I think he's pretty much. We all seen him coming. He's full fledged putting the league on storm now, and pretty much like, hey, I'm in my third year, but I can for sure be MVP in this league this season right now, if need be. Ja Morant, I'm referring to. He carried not single handedly him by himself, but he has the Grizzlies at the third seed in the Western Conference. They're pretty much having a great season. They're 43-20. How do you feel that season is going for the Grizzlies? Do you think they can really make some real noise in that Western Conference? We know last year they got bumped out by the Utah 4-1. So how do you think they're coming back this year with vengeance?
Honestly, I think they can beat the Jazz.
Yeah, for sure.
I really think they could beat the Jazz this year, and they could. I would not be shocked, if they made it to the Western Conference Finals. They
Mm.
are. I forget the exact number, but they're not that far behind from the Warriors for that 2 seed. And I know part of that is because the Warriors have not been without, or they've been without Draymond Green for a significant period of time, and he is the anchor to their defense. But you still got Steph, you still got Clay, you got Wiggins, you know what I'm saying? You got Otto Porter and Poole and Gary Payton II. But yeah, I think they could make some real noise because look at the job that Jaren Jackson Jr. has
Yeah.
done, right?
Yeah.
Some people see him, as a defensive player of the year candidate, averaging, I think, 16, 17 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Dylan Brooks, who's, steady force as well. But Ja makes that team go. He is the focal point, and he's really improved his three-point shooting, which was something he didn't do that well when he came into the league,
Right.
and still wasn't that great last year. The fact that he adds a three-point shot to his game and he can be reliable in addition to all those high-flying dunks and mesmerizing passes and plays, I do believe they can make some deep noise. They can make a lot of noise this year. It's going to be tough because they don't really have they don't have any championship pedigree,
Right.
unless I'm forgetting somebody on the roster who's won a championship. Still young and inexperienced, but that's what you want. They got nothing to lose. Nobody's expecting them to win, the West or the finals, if
Right.
that, because you got Phoenix, who everybody expects to be in the finals, and then the Warriors as well. Utah, I'm, I'm
So,
not.
but what about Denver though? Obviously, we know Michael Porter and Jamal are coming back pretty much by the postseason or later this month for Michael Porter. I don't know about Jamal, but how do you think Denver would be hold up with those Western Conference teams?
I think Denver, if they get Jamal, look, they're not gonna make that much. They're not gonna do too much damage without Jamal and Michael Porter Jr.
Right.
Right, and then let's say you add those two back to the mix. Again, like I said with Ben Simmons, what type of versions of these players are we getting?
Mm.
Are we getting Jamal Murray in the bubble? Is that what we're getting? Are we getting Michael Porter Jr. when he was at his peak? If we are, then I honestly can see them competing for a Western Conference final spot.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
we see the job that Nikola Jokic has done. But I won't say by himself, but pretty much, yeah, been by himself.
Yeah, pretty
He don't
much.
got nobody. And dog, he is one of the leaders for the MVP candidacy
Right.
without two of their best players. That just speaks to his greatness and the value that he brings to the team. But yeah, I think Denver with Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, in addition to Jokic and all their other guys, they can make a run. I just don't know if they're going to. I don't believe they will make it to the NBA Finals this year. I
Okay.
don't. I don't think that's
So
going to happen.
so later on in this episode, after a couple more of my questions, I'm pretty much going to try to get a straightforward answer out of you. Who do you have winning the finals and why? You're pretty much you're shouting out some good teams. Obviously, there's a lot of good teams in the league, but you're not giving me a I'll go with this or I'll go with that. So I'm gonna save that later on for the episode. Um, my next question to you is not on a topic still before I switch it over to the Lakers. This been going around ESPN or floating around Twitter, and I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay, just a second. I got it.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so just like I said, there was a question floating around Twitter and ESPN. I think they talk about it on some of the shows or whatnot. Ja Morant third season in the league compared to Derrick Rose third season in the league where he won MVP. Who do you feel like? I'm pretty sure you watched Derrick Rose as well. Who do you feel like was the better young player in those particular season? That particular season, Ja Morant or Derrick Rose?
Woo. Listen, Ja's been special for these Grizzlies, and there's no telling, how much better he can get. But the run that Derrick Rose was on, and because he won the MVP in 2011, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was remarkable. Just every game, he was doing something where you're like, "What the hell just happened? How did he do that?" You know, there was no stopping him. And he played. It's funny because he played with the team that had horrible spacing,
yeah, yeah.
like
True, true.
atrocious spacing.
Yeah.
Because you got Joakim Noah out there, you got Lawal Dang, you know what I'm saying? You got Ty Skips, like all these guys uh, that couldn't really shoot at all. So I would have to go with Derrick Rose, even though John Morant's putting up a great fight. But I think Derrick Rose is a guy who I would side with. What about you?
Man, I'm at the age 25. So the thing about Derrick Rose, when I was seeing Derrick Rose come up and I was seeing everything that he was doing, even down to college when he was doing his thing at Memphis, it was just the way he approached the game. It was something like we just never seen before. The way he attacked the basket downhill, the way he finished around the rim, the way he was catching alley oop dunks, it's real similar to what Ja is doing now. But
Yeah.
Derrick Rose literally made you feel like, man, we can't check him, we can't stop him. I watched him play against Miami in the playoffs, even his rookie season playoffs against the Boston. That was
Yeah.
legendary,
Yeah.
And Miami had no answer for Derrick Rose. But Ja Morant, man, it's different. You're 6'3", you're leading the league
Yeah.
in points in the paint as a point guard. You're
Yeah.
shooting 50% from the field at that, and then you, like you said, you upped your 3-point shooting as well. And don't get me wrong, Memphis has a good team, but if you look back at it, Chicago had a better roster probably than what Memphis has currently. Joakim, Defensive Player of
Yeah,
the Year talks. He
right.
was there year in and year out. Carlos Boozer, well respected from the mid
Yeah,
range,
that's right,
well
Carlos. Yeah.
respected down low. Luol Deng, Kirk Heinrich. He even played with Ben Gordon.
Yeah.
John Morant literally just came in and said, "Okay, they moved Mike Conley. Zach Randolph
Yeah.
is gone. Marc Gasol is gone. This is my team. I'm gonna carry him now." He did that. I think John Morant is. If I had to strictly compare year 3 and year 3, although Derrick Rose won MVP, Derrick Rose was with LeBron James and Kobe and KD, but Ja's in a time to where like if Jokic and Embiid weren't doing what they doing, he'd probably be the MVP. Just think about that. I mean, the 43 and
Oh,
20, third seed, he's having a hell of a season. He'll probably win MVP. Just that Jokic and Embiid is just doing something that we haven't seen in a long, long, long time. Especially from the big man position, we're only like we've seen DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, but we haven't seen too many centers over the past 10 to 15 years literally average over 27, 28 points per game like it's nothing.
yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, don't,
so
don't
I
forget
think,
Giannis. Don't forget Giannis in that mix too.
yeah, Giannis,
Um,
yeah, Giannis as well.
Giannis been dominating as well. But
Yeah,
actually I find it interesting you said that because I believe people are even despite the fact that Jokic and Embiid and Giannis are at the top of the MVP rate. I feel like there's not as much coverage about them because they're doing the things
we're
or
accustomed to seeing
Jokic.
them do.
Yeah, but Jokic is like, yeah, this dude's been ball. He was balling last year. He won MVP last year, and now he's taking his game to another level because of the injuries that they've had, and you don't hear as much about him.
Not at all.
Um, or it's like people get fatigued, voting somebody twice in a row. But yeah, if those three guys were not doing what they were doing, Ja would easily be the MVP,
For sure.
hands down.
For sure. One is coming from, but yeah, I will side with Ja. Thank you for asking me that question back. One of my last questions that I had for you, man. I love LeBron. I didn't really care for the move to LA too much. I just wanted to see him do his own thing, but that's where he wanted to be. They won a championship in a bubble. People call it a bubble fluke. But they traded for Russell Westbrook, and it just didn't look like the best decision at all. They're sitting at 27 and 34, 3-7 in their last 10, and they're currently the ninth seed. Do you think the Lakers have any chance at turning this thing around? And also, if you were the head coach or the GM, you know, what would you do exactly in this sort of kind of situations where you just have LeBron and Westbrook and a bunch of guys that's pretty much out there nightly?
Well, you'd have to make some tough decisions as far as your lineups. Their lineups have been a complete mess all year long, and the role players have been inconsistent. 1 minute, THT is hot, right? He's going off against the Bucks early in the year, showing that he should be a starter.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets to start, I think, a few times, and we've seen a big dip in his progression as a player. You know, same thing. I mean, Austin Reeves. He's a rookie, undrafted. Showed some great flat. Has showed some great flat. Stanley Johnson as well. So as far as what I would do, man, I don't know. I don't know. I do think bringing Russ off the bench would help in terms of spacing. When LeBron is not out there, so get that second unit going, and he drives the engine there. You would love AD to come back before the season ends. Who knows what's going to happen there? But you always have a chance with LeBron,
right?
That even though he's pretty high up there in age at this point in his career, and you can tell he doesn't have the legs and the stamina that he once did, even though he's still playing at a high level. I think they have a shot. It's not a good shot, but they just have to look themselves in the mirror. I think many people have said it. They have to do some soul searching and push aside their egos and say, look, we're not trying to go out where we don't even make the playoffs and we've got everybody booing us at home.
Right.
That's not what the Laker Nation is about. That's not what they want. So Frank Vogel, though, he got to make some better adjustments. Like I said, get Russ off the bench, bring him off the bench as a sixth man or whatever. And you have to make sure that LeBron, it's really tough, bro, because LeBron has to shoulder the load
Yeah,
um,
still.
at this point. You can't who you relying on to carry the load that's healthy because it was supposed to be AD.
Hmm.
But that man is always getting freak injuries, and it's sad to say, but it's he's not reliable,
Yeah.
as far as being on the court. So yeah, they have a chance to make a run for the play-in game. Uh, and Frank Vogel doesn't have that many options because his roster isn't that talented.
Right. And I definitely agree with you. The main
What
thing that you
adjustment?
said, the main thing that you
Well,
said, oh, what were you saying?
no, what? So what would you do though? What adjustments would you make, or if
And
you're Frank Vogel?
so if I was Frank Vogel, and to piggyback off what you said, first decision easily rush off the bench. As
Yeah,
soon as the trade went down, I was so disappointed because I didn't get where they were going with it. I mean, I understand you don't want Dennis anymore, you don't
yeah,
want Harrell, you
yeah.
didn't want Drummond anymore, and KCP, Kuzma, whatever, they can go. I get
Right.
that. Kuzma probably not. Caruso probably not. They should have kept them two at least.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, they should have kept them two at least. But now they put themselves in a tough situation. You got to sit back and think about it. So the rumors and the speculations, obviously, they all came out. Buddy Hield, he's going to LA,
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, cool, I like that. Then an hour or two later, they just did a whole 360 and said, we're going to get Westbrook instead. Not a problem. At the time, I didn't like it. I still never did like it. I never seen it changing at all. Because when you look at Westbrook game and you pair it with LeBron's game, how does it match? This is not young LeBron. This is not young Westbrook.
yeah,
Westbrook, don't get me wrong, still has the same athleticism. LeBron still has the same athleticism. But when you pair them on the court together, how can they benefit one another? The best thing that they can do is when Westbrook is attacking to the basket and LeBron does the back cut. Or
yeah,
he follows up and cuts to the basket as well, and Westbrook will dish it off to him. That's the only time I see them look effective on the court together. Other
yeah,
than that, Westbrook, he's just too much of a liability, man. So what I would do is I would take Westbrook, put him on the bench.
yeah,
And if they signed so many guys, man. It's just it's deep to think about. They're missing Kendrick Nunn, but LeBron
yeah,
obviously be my one. Wow, they don't even have a big man because no Anthony Davis.
yeah.
Do I so
Yeah,
you
Dwight
know
out there.
so Dwight he's off and on with him. They just
Yeah,
messed up the rotation a lot, man. Because one minute they were starting DeAndre Jordan, they were starting Reeves,
yeah,
Stanley.
yeah,
But to answer the question, if I had to do something, Westbrook off the bench, I would go with LeBron at the one
yeah,
or whatever big man position. I would be forced to start Dwight Howard,
yeah.
and then I like Stanley Johnson.
I
Then I
do
would go
too.
with Malik Monk, and then I'd probably go
Yeah,
with Reeves as well.
yeah,
I would
that's
let
it.
Westbrook and Reeves come ignite my bench. THT ignite my bench to see if they
Yeah,
can do something together. But other than that, man, and Melo off the bench as well.
right.
Other than that, they're a little too limited. But to stay on the topic as far as being a playing team or a playoff team, last year, for example, obviously it's not the same team, but LeBron and AD was up 2-1 on the Suns. If they fall, if they're going to be a playing team, most likely, which they are, they're going to fall at the eighth or seventh seed, and they're going to play the Warriors or the Lakers, Warriors or the Suns, regardless. I don't think they want to play either one of those teams, but
No.
if they had to choose, probably the Suns. I think
Yeah,
they probably will fear the Warriors more than the Suns.
yeah.
So we'll see, man.
Well, yeah, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I
I
think
agree.
they'll fear the Warriors more than the Suns because the Lakers, they don't have no defense. And don't get me wrong, Warriors and Suns both do a lot of off-ball movements, but Clay and Curry combined are going to get 10 threes up a game.
Right.
And who knows if they're hot, they're hot. Wiggins, who's been
Yep.
obviously up this game from a three-point range this season, and Draymond is going to be back to anchor that offense and defense as well. So
Right.
maybe they even have Wiseman back for the playoffs as well. So hey, we'll see.
Right.
Um, my last question for you though, Chris, and again, thank you so much for coming on and helping me out today.
Yeah.
Who
No
do you
problem.
have coming out the Eastern Conference and why? Now, this is
I
the
have
point to where you just got to give me that straightforward answer, man. Who do you got coming out and why?
Milwaukee Bucks. They're gonna get Brooke Lopez back. They're gonna get Pat Connaughton back. Two vital parts of their team as far as shooting and defensive standpoint, respectively.
Hmm.
And you have Giannis, top five player in the game. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. They'll be lights out, and the champs are not. They're gonna repeat, right? That's what I have coming out the East.
Okay. My next question: who do you have coming out the Western Conference and why?
Coming out the Western Conference, I have the Phoenix Suns. What more can be said about the job that Chris Paul has done before he got injured? Devin Booker, they've been playing at elite levels. Devin, you could argue, should be in the MVP race as well, because
Nice.
of the way he's carried some of the load, improved his game, and DeAndre Ayton, right? Everybody has taken that next step.
For
DeAndre
sure.
Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Cam
Yeah.
Johnson. You know what I'm saying? The list goes on and on. So that's who I feel like that's who I would pick to go from the Western Conference, and that's why.
Okay. I'm not sure if you said Milwaukee will repeat, but we do know Phoenix was up 2-0 last season before Giannis pretty much happened. If they were to meet again, do you think Chris Paul and Devin Booker will be on get back or what?
You know, I think that no, I don't think Chris Paul and I think the series will go 7 games,
Okay.
right? I don't think it'll be I think it'll go back and forth. One team wins one game, then the other team comes back. I don't think any team's going to be up 2-0. But I don't trust it. We've seen them fall, the Suns that is, in big moments where they've shrunk, specifically CP, um, in some of those. I forget the exact game, but some of those games. So I think the Bucks are going to handle them in 7 games. What about you? Who do you have coming out of East and Western Conference?
Man, man. I'm gonna go ahead and say I support the Miami Heat. I love the Miami Heat, but if I had to get down to it, I'm gonna go ahead and say Philly this year, man. Because we got to sit back and think about it. Every time, well, obviously when all this shifting happened that LeBron started, but outside of Chris, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and KG, and so anytime two top 10 players were on the same team, they won the championship together. That's
Yep.
LeBron and Wade, Curry and KD, obviously LeBron and Anthony Davis, and now we're looking at Harden and Embiid, and they complement each other so
Yeah.
well. My eyes been glued to the TV all 3 games they played. They complement each other so well. So when I know, like you said, playoffs come around where teams lock in and
Yeah.
schemes are different and things are different. Nothing you do is going to be able to stop Harden and Embiid. Maxi is a downhill guy. He's fast. He plays with the ball
Yeah.
fast. When Harden kicks it to Maxi in transition or just anything off a pick and roll or anything like that with Embiid, he's just too fast to stop. And he has one of the best floater games in the league, which
Yeah.
a lot of people don't pay attention to. So I'm gonna go ahead and side with Philly, man. I think they have the team to come out the East this year. Thibault, who I love that he's starting now.
Yeah.
He's anchoring that defense. He's being a
Yep.
pest. He's being annoying. And Tobias and Embiid, they have a good team, man. I'm siding with them to come out. It's going to be on Niang and Korkmaz to hit their
Yep.
outside shots coming off that bench for them to be
I
super
agree.
effective. Um, so I'm going with Philly. And in the West, I think when it comes down to it, man, I think last year was the Suns' chance. I'm not saying that was their only chance, but it was their best chance. When Curry and Clay and Curry, who's been in a slump this season, but as of late, I should say,
Yep.
no Draymond, but when Curry, Clay, and Draymond and Wiggins, Kaminga, shout out to him, he's hooping as a rookie. That when they have that whole team going, I just think that the Warriors are going to be too much for anybody, man. So I think Philly and the Warriors will meet in the finals, and then again, I'm going with Philly. I can confidently say I think Philly will win it all this year. I know it's early. People like to say the trade just happened, give it to next
Right.
season or whatnot. But no, I'm going with Philly this year. I like them to win it all.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
You
man.
better tell Doc Rivers not to choke that thing up. Make sure
my
Bruce is
last
hard luck.
my last question to you, Chris. Who do you have winning the MVP this season?
The MVP. Ooh. Oh man. My favorite player is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
So I'm biased there. And I want him to win another one. That being said, if I had to give the MVP award right now, probably you'd have to say Joel Embiid.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's who I would go with
Okay.
because that man is terrorizing everybody inside the paint, mid range, fade away, stepping out, 3-point shot. That's
Yeah.
what makes him, to your point, that's what makes Philly so hard to stop now because they have all these guys, even big men, who can come out at the perimeter in addition to Harden, Tyrese Maxey, what I'm saying, Thibault. So yeah, Joel Embiid is who I would say would win MVP if the race ended today.
Okay. I side there with you. I've been there on since pretty much the beginning of the season. But Chris, most importantly, thank you so much for coming on Fact and Stats today. It was a great episode 78. Any last thing you got to say?
Nah, man, just keep doing your thing. Really love the dialogue and conversation, and can't wait to do it again sometime in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, man. You have a good one.
All right, you too, man.